Shalom, friends. It is good to see all of you. I am loving it's one of my favorite parts of the week because I'm getting ready for the fellowship. Today was a crazy day at the farm. I mean, hundreds, if not thousands, of people coming out here, and really, it's me and Jeremy running the whole show. So the amount of commander soldier type of logistical cooperations is really more intense than a war in Gaza. That's really what it feels like that's been going on here. It was really, and I thank God, I really feel like Jeremy and I were doing it together. And when something happened and it ended up instead of 15 people coming, 85 people came, and there were two goats to milk. So I brought the tractor on and started giving rides, and we just made it happen together with Hashem's help. And now, like, I get to see all of you. And the amount of people that have come through my sukkah has just been such a blessing, but I feel like you're all in my sukkah with me. And as I'm listening to the music, this is what happens every week. I'm listening to Jeremy's music, which I already associate with the fellowship. I associate it with all of you. So I hear his music, I start getting really excited. I'm even thinking about making music to play before the fellowship. And then you'll all be even more excited for the fellowship because it means you'll have to stop hearing me sing. But either way, just seeing all of you, it feels like we're all together. And the minute Jeremy starts talking, I'm looking at her faces. I see Shelly up front and center. She starts crying immediately. And it's like the language of my heart. If there's any way to start the fellowship, end the Torah and finish the Torah with heart, all of you in this fellowship have more heart than anyone I've ever met. Just the amount of heart that you have, and it's contagious. And I feel like our hearts come together in this fellowship, which has been really, really great. And it has been quite a Sukkot. And I thought I'd use the opportunity to share a little bit about what's been going on this Sukkot and catching up. So right after the last fellowship, we started by building and decorating the Sukkah literally from the day the fellowship ended. Now for Shana and I, it was particularly emotional because while I didn't think about it, Shana didn't anticipate it, we weren't thinking about it. Dvash came home from her little daycare with this beautiful art that she made for our sukkah. I mean, it was like little sparkles and art and whatever. And as we hung it up, Shana and I looked at each other and we didn't even need to say anything. We both felt the same thing. You see, many of you know, especially those who have been with us from the beginning, that Shana and I have been on a long journey to where we are now. Jeremy knows more than anyone. He's been on it with me. I blame him for a lot of it. I'm just kidding. No, but there were so many years that we had of going to the Sukkot of our friends and our family that were beautifully decorated with pictures that their children made. And while we were authentically happy for them and we shared their joy, going to Jeremy's sukkah every year, it was his children are like my children and loving to see the art and the decorations. But our Sukkot that we built for ourselves were without the beautiful decorations of children. We didn't have any. And after all of these years of praying and longing and yearning, we had the exquisite art of our little Dvash hanging in our sukkah. Jeremy was in the middle of talking and like, Jeremy, could you just stop talking for 1 second and just have a moment, open your heart. Do you see that art right there on the wall? Do you see that? And he turned and was like, wow. Well, he knew exactly what I was saying. Art, which by the way, this art I fully intend on framing and keeping forever. And if we ever need the money, we'll sell it for tens of millions of dollars. And even then it would be a steal. So here's a picture of Dvash proudly pointing at her artistic sukkah decorations. Can you see her? How yummy is that? How yummy is that? She's so proud of her little art in the sukkah, and there's more art. One of my dogs ripped one of them down today. I was literally going to commit canine murder. Anyways, so that was like a moment of redemption, a moment that we never really knew would come into fruition, where we never really let ourselves fully believe that it would happen. We prayed for it and we yearned for it, but it's happening right now, in this very moment. But really, if you zoom out, the entire Sukkot is a moment of redemption. Our return to the land of Israel is a moment of redemption. This is a holiday it's like a holiday that is a glimpse, a momentary preview of redemption. Because think about it, for thousands of years, We were dispersed throughout the exile, yearning to return home, praying to return home. And when the Sukkot holiday would arrive, we would build our Sukkot, our tabernacles in these foreign lands, remembering, commemorating the clouds of glory with which Hashem guided us through the desert to the promised land, believing in our hearts that no matter where we were in our sukkah, whether we were in Yemen or Morocco or Russia or Poland, whether we were in the east or in the west, that Hashem was guiding us back to the promised land, just as he had done through that long journey through the desert. That in that little cocoon of a hut that we had built, that in some way, when we sat in our sukkah, we were already in the promised land, no matter where we were. And then, as if in the blink of an eye, Hashem returned us home. He brought us back to our land, to the land of Israel, but it wasn't without pain and blood and suffering and sacrifice. We weren't given the land of Israel on a silver platter. We had to fight for it, and we had to die for it. Yet no matter what, we continued building our sukkahs. So here are some pictures of Sukkot that were built during those formative years of the tumultuous return from the exile. You see that soldiers that built a sukkah right in their army jeep. On top of their tanks, they're building the sukkah. How beautiful is that? On top of their tanks, during the war, I don't know if you saw that video clearly, but no matter what the conditions have been throughout history, we built our sukkahs because we recognized that on the deepest level, it is God's clouds of glory, his Sukkot Shalom, which protects us. Not whatever makeshift protection we have built for ourselves. It's not in the bricks and the mortar and the concrete that we place our trust, but in the God of Israel. And that's what Sukkot is about. So now today on the farm has been wild, nonstop. Jeremy, are you going to tell them about the Fold family? Shake your head. I can do it. I can do it. Okay. So I got to just tell you, 3 years ago, just over 3 years ago, Ari Fold, the hero of Israel, he was murdered. I even thought he was assassinated because he was such a hero, a well-known advocate for Israel, for the Jewish people, articulate, powerful warrior. He was just the ultimate. Everybody admired and respected him, and he was murdered. And just a few days after his murder, his wife and his children and his siblings all came out to our farm. It was their first time there. I don't know how they came out, how they heard about it, but they reached out and they came out to the farm. I think they saw his video that he did on the farm and they knew how much it meant to him, and they just needed to get away. It was literally just a few days afterwards. And it was so powerful having them out just a few days after he was murdered. And today, 3 years later, they came out again. And I remember his little son, he was just a little boy. He was maybe like 5 feet tall. And my dog would play fetch, and he threw the stick, and the dog ran after the stick. And he said, you know, my Abba told me that, or my Abba, well, when he was alive, I mean, it was just so heart-shattering to see this. It was so raw and fresh. And now 3 years later, they came back out again, the whole family. And it was just so magical and so meaningful. And that was just one of the many groups that happened today. And they were so moved. The parents said that the halutziyut, what's the word, the pioneering love for Israel, that's just what Ari was all about, and they want to be a part of the farm. Anyways, it was just nonstop today. And Shayna and I, we're going to sleep very well tonight. It wasn't just them. Jews throughout the land of Israel have been flocking to the farm. I'm talking hundreds, even thousands, walk through the farm and just marvel at its beauty. They don't even know what to make of it. But for each and every one of them, it touches what I call sort of the redemptive nerve. You know, that nerve, that feeling, it's impossible to put into words. What's happening on our mountaintop in Judea, it's just a glimpse into the times that we've been praying for. And I don't know how to explain it. Really, I don't. It isn't about me and Jeremy either. Yeah, we're good talkers sometimes, but sometimes I feel like our talking actually detracts from it. If we just shut our mouths and let people experience the holiness of it, it's even more powerful. There's something intrinsic about the holiness that the land itself possesses, which can pierce even the most calloused hearts. And so this Sukkot has been such an opportunity to make this place available to the entire nation, to all the nations of the world, really, but because of COVID, to the nation of Israel to experience it. And while it's been thoroughly exhausting, at the same time, it's been invigorating and life-giving. Because remember, last week we spoke about the nightly spiritual guests that we invite into our sukkah, right? What are they called? Does anyone remember? They're called the Ushpizin. Did anyone see that movie? Was anyone able to see it? It was such a good movie. I sent you the link. A lot of you told me that you saw it and you enjoyed it. If you didn't see it, it's not too late. We're still in Sukkot. And it's a great movie all year round. Who are the Ushpizin, these holy spiritual guests whose souls come to us just like Elijah comes to us on Passover? So over Sukkot, it's Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Jacob is the third night. Joseph is the fourth night. Moses, Aaron, and David. And there's a reason that we invite Abraham first into our sukkah. And it's not just because he was the beginning. I believe the truth is because he internalized and brought into the world what Sukkot is really about. Now here's the scene, right? Abraham's 100 years old in the blistering heat of the summer, and he's healing from the circumcision that he performed on himself with unbelievable mesirut nefesh and self-sacrifice and faith. And he's in the middle of having direct prophetic relationship with God. We actually reviewed this during Genesis. And he looks out from his tent and he sees these three nomadic idolaters. He thought they were idolaters. He didn't know that they were angels. He thought that they were just nomadic idolaters like everybody else at that time. And he jumps to his feet and runs out of his tent to beg them to enter and to receive his hospitality. This is in the, he's having a prophecy with God who came to visit him to do Bikur Cholim, to visit the sick. And he left God's presence theoretically and ran after. And it's from this action that we learn that Abraham was not running away from his divine experience, but he was expanding it. That the deepest way to connect to God, to love God, the most profound way to truly love God is by loving your fellow man, by loving God through our fellow man. And that when you invite people into your home, into your sukkah, what you're really doing is inviting the divine presence into your sukkah. You're inviting God himself into your home or into your sukkah. And that's what the consciousness that we enter Sukkot is about. We enter with this awareness and it fuels us. It empowers us. I don't know about you, Jeremy, but I know Shane and we talk about it. That through these long, beautiful days of Hachnasat Orchim, of greeting people into our home, we recognize we're welcoming angels themselves into our home. It's already been clear to me that every single one of you in the fellowship are angels in our lives. That's for sure. Jeremy and I talk about that all the time. And it's by design. We scheduled a brief break today. Jeremy and I, we had constant groups wanting to come out. We scheduled this break so we could have the fellowship together with all of you, which we're so excited about. And but for me personally, our guests started very early in the morning. And the very first guests, I wanted to share it with you. They were two soldiers that were patrolling our mountaintop, and when I saw them pass by, I ran after them, and I begged them to come into our sukkah, because they're not really supposed to, they're patrolling, and I begged them to come in, and when you see a grown man groveling, it's like a little hard to say no. So we brought them in, these two holy angels, into our sukkah, and for me it was like holiness on top of holiness, for they weren't only angels, but they're holy angels that have lovingly offered to sacrifice their lives in protection of their nation and their people. They're soldiers in the first Jewish army since the times of King David. And this was a little video that I just shot of them in my sukkah this morning.
שם יש דגל.
וואי, יפה.
אתרוג.
הדגל לשמחת תורה?
More etrog. Yeah, there's two.
So actually, it was really funny because that's Dvash flirting with them and conversing with them and saying, yeah, even though she has no idea what they're talking about. But literally, as we were on our way here, one of the soldiers was running after me. He's like, hello. And I thought it was an emergency, that there was an attack or something. I said, is everything okay? He's like, yes, but the sun is going down and I haven't shaken the lulav and etrog yet. Can I use yours? And I was like, absolutely. Jump in my sukkah right now. Do it. And he ran there right before sundown because they're busy, they're patrolling, they're working. And I was able to see this soldier waving my lulav and etrog in the sukkah. And that was just such a beautiful thing. And it's just one of those moments, we're cherishing each and every moment of this holiday because our sages say that the happiness we experience on Sukkot is something we take into the rest of the year with us. And so while I know that it seems like a distant dream, Hashem can fulfill distant dreams in a moment, if it's his will. And so I'll end this message with a prayer that it may be his will that the day will come soon when all of you will be able to come to our mountaintop, maybe even on this Sukkot, who knows? You're able to come to our mountaintop into Judea and dwell with us in our Sukkot, not only as our friends and not only as our family, but as the angels that you truly are in our lives. So shalom to all of you and much love and blessings to all of you from our Sukkot out here on the Judean frontier. Shalom, shalom.